This is the third shir that we're saying in regards to the Isius and the Alef Bais, somewhat al pisaid, but not completely al pisaid, because al pisaid has so much involved with it. We're going to only start with the beginnings of it. First thing to talk about is that every letter in the Alef Bais, when Rabbi Shalom set it up, he set it up in three parts that we have to learn about the Alef Bais itself. Part one is every letter got a name. And every name has a reason why it's called that name and why those letters that are related to it mean something. For example, you have the letter Alef. Alef is spelled Alef Lamed Pei. What is the word Alef telling us about the first letter in the Alef? In the Alef Bais. So the first thing is that each letter has a name. Second thing is each letter has a shape. It's formed in a certain way. And as you can imagine, that every single one is shaped in such a way that it has huge, huge meaning. And the last thing is the numerical value of each letter. So to give you an idea what it's about, is we take the word Alef. Alef is also Isius Pella. It's a wonder. How is the letter Alef a wonder? Because it works as follows. First, if you go in the Alef Bais with the letters of 1 through 9, which would be Alef, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Ches, Tes, Yud. Now, before you get to the Yud, Yud is actually just a repeat of the Alef. The only new letters, new numbers that are here are the ones that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Once you hit 10, 10 is already a repeat. So if a numerical value will be Yud Alef. So it's again, you're just repeating the Alef and adding something in front of it in the tens, in the hundreds, or whatever you want to call it. So the first thing is that the number 1 is the shirish of everything. As we know, Hashem Echad, Shmaya Echad, everything that's related to 1 is a reference to Rabbeinu Shalom. You see also, how is it a Isapella? How is it such a wonder? Because as you know, if you go through the whole Alef Bais, every letter has its own numerical value. And if you go continue, what's the last letter in the Alef Bais? The numerical value of the last letter in the entire Alef Bais, as we know, is the letter Tuf. And Tuf is the numerical value 400. But what's not counted, as we know, Aleph through Tuf is 22 letters. But there are 5 more letters which have a different shape, has a similar name, and similar numerical value, but a different shape. And those are called Isiyais, Saifiyais, or Endais, which means they have, if they show up on the last letter of a word, they look differently. And they are called Mansapach. And they are all those letters that are Enda letters. Example, you have an Enda Chaf, or Chaf Savitz, which has a different shape. Now, it's called Mansapach. And if you go in order after the Tuf, so it goes as follows. The first one of these Enda letters is a Chaf, which would be numerical value of 500. The next one would be a Mem, which would have numerical value of 600. The one after that is a Nun, which would have a numerical value of 700. The one after that is a Pei, which would have a numerical value of 800. Then we'll come to Tzadi or Tzadik, which would have a numerical value of 900. And after that, we're finished. No, then comes Alef. Alef is 1,000. 1,000 Alef is the same Isis as Alef. So you see that everything is considered what we call a Galgal HaSevev. It's a full circle. So that's why it's called Eis HaPela. When you get to 1 and you reach the highest numerical value of all the Isis, you're again going back to Alef or Alef. So therefore it's called Eis HaPela. Now we want to know, how do the spheres relate to the Alef Bais? Because as you know, everybody should know, even if they don't, that 10 spheres. The spheres are certain keys that Rabbeinu Shalom put down in order to give us some tiny understanding of the way things are working in the world. Now, we have no real understanding of anything, and anything that involves Kutcher Brichu is totally beyond us, and we have no understanding of anything. But Rabbeinu Shalom put us here that we should have some sort of understanding. So he gave us certain formulas which allow us to understand a little bit. So just to give you the names and the order that they go, and really everybody should know them by heart, like the back of the tongue. And they are: Keser is number 1, Chachma is number 2, Bina is number 3, Chesed is number 4, Gvura is number 5, Tiferes is number 6, Netzach is number 7, Hod is number 8, Yesod is number 9, and Malchus is number 10. And it goes in order, but it doesn't really work in order exactly. So you would think that the order of the spheres, the connecting Alef Bais that will go with it, should be Alef Bais Gimel, Dalet Hey Vav Zayin Ches Tes Yud. But it doesn't work that way. The way it works is it's brought down in Sefer Yetzirah, that it's going in a thing called Emesh Beged Kafris, and then comes Hois Chati Lanas Atzak. What is that? So the Sefer Yetzirah teaches us that Emesh is what we call Yesidus. These are the roots, and they are, the first one stands for Eish, the second one Avir, second one stands for Mayim, and the last one stands for Eish. Those are called Emesh, and the reason that they are, because those are Yesidus that Hashem put in this world of the creation of the world. Now, do not confuse it with a title called Datzcham, which Datzcham is Daimim Tzemeach Chai Medaber, and Datzcham is strictly on life form that's in this world. Things that have Bechira. A Daimim is your rocks and earth. Tzemeach is plant life. Chai is animal life. Medaber is human life. So the Emesh, which we're going to connect to the first 3 spheres, which is Keser, Chachma, Bina, those 3 things are called Yesidus. That's what the world is created on. And so too, those first 3 spheres are also things that the world was created on, and they are what we call the Sheirish of everything. Keser is in a place which we actually have no understanding of it whatsoever. So very often you'll find that Chazal, instead of listing the sphere called Keser, it's going to leave Keser off, because as we know, Keser sits me'al harosh. Anything that's me'al harosh is coming to teach us that it's above our heads, and we have no understanding in it, and therefore we shouldn't focus on it, but only focus on the first thing that we can understand, which would be Chachma. And Chachma is what we call the beginning of Machshava. That's the place that things became from Ayin to a Yesh, from nothingness to something. But it's also, of course, only in the form of Machshava. And then comes Bina, And Bina is where, so to speak, we got a blueprint of the way things will work. Hashem started creating a physical world, or a blueprint for a physical world, and anything that is a physical world has to be Midas Hadin, because Midas Hadin has limits, and in our world, everything physical has to have limits, otherwise it's not physical. And then after that comes Das, which we'll discuss it later, and then comes Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod Yesod, and the letters that go with it is called Beged Kafris, which are in the Alef Bais. We start off the first 4 letters of the Alef Bais have attached to them what we call triples. What are the triples? Aleph, which is a 1, has in the Alef Bais Aleph Yud Kuf, which is 1, 10, 100. That's called Ayak. The second one is Bachar, which is 2, 20, 200, which is Beis, Chaf, and Reish. Third one is Galsh, which is Gimel, Lamed, Shin, 3, 30, 300. Last one is Damas, which is 4, 40, and 400. After that comes what we call Beged Kafris, which those are the letters that only have 2 correspondents. Beis, which is Beged. The Beged Kafris will have, they only have 2, which these letters is representative that there's a Beis and a Vase, and by the Sfardim there's a Gimel and a Gimel, and a Dalet and a Dalet, and a Kaf and a Chaf, Pei and a Fei. Reish, by the Sfardim they have another type of Reish, and there's a Taf and a Saf. These are called the doubles. And therefore, the 10 spheres are connected, what we're calling Emesh and Beged Kafris. And at this note, I'm going to end right here, and to be continued.